dude, I could have chosen to be anywhere, really. You know, I was 27 when I left the UK. Something about this country just pulled me in, and I'm not the only person I know that said that.
How can we conserve community, family, those values in Poland moving forward?
I beg Polish people, please don't think that everything from the West is good. Guys, if you looked at Poland, Poland would be the template for how you could live your life.
To you, what do you think it means to be Polish?
I mean, I believe I became a Pole. So if it's possible for me, it's possible for anyone from this great human race. I don't think you can become Polish unless you have at least a working understanding of the Polish language. You feel it in the streets. You are walking on the graves of people who died for this country and the idea of Poland when you come around Warsaw.
You know, there's a possibility of war.
Will it happen again? Of course it will happen again. We're living in history right now. So let's stop pretending that it's, you know, 1999, it's the end of history and everyone can live happily ever after. That is not the story of Poland, it's not the story of this world. We have freedom, but freedom isn't free, and we may well need to fight for it. And I intend to fight for it if the day comes.
So we're doing something new on this channel. You know, I usually do English language teaching videos, but I really wanted to try a kind of long form conversation, podcast, interview, call it whatever you want to call it. But this is something I want to try incorporate moving forward. So I want some feedback. Do you enjoy this kind of video? Is it fun to watch? Let me know, should we do more? And let me now introduce my guest. In front of me today, I have a British man by birth, a Polish man by choice. He writes books, he tells stories about Poland and its people. He's a husband, a father, a creator. According to his Instagram bio, author, speaker, interested in brains, humans, and adventure. My friend, Patrick Ney.
Hello, mate.
Nice to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's kick things off with a nice, juicy question. What are your currently 3 favorite things to talk about and like nerd out over?
Oh, I love nerding out on the mind, like how the mind works, because we know so little about the mind, so it's so interesting. Second thing is I love talking about geopolitics. And I love talking about everything that's going on really with Poland and Poland's geopolitical place. And number 3, every time we get onto history, I'm always happy. It's my sweet spot. So anything to do with World War II, before, during, and after is just stuff I love talking about.
Let's jump into 2 and 3. Poland and your history. I want to hear about your story, your history. Let's rewind. You're obviously a Polish citizen. The story of how you got your citizenship is interesting. Can you tell us about that? What's it like to be awarded Polish citizenship? How did that come about?
I think granted is probably the best.
Granted.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry.
Well, they do award them from time to time, and I'm always looking at the awards going, Jesse Eisenberg, right? He got the Polish citizenship. So sorry, Jesse, but I'm afraid you didn't deserve it because, bro, you don't speak Polish. Sorry, but you don't. You did one film about Poland, yeah, and you have some Polish roots, but you don't earn it that way, bro. So he got awarded it. I first came to Poland in 2007, and I fell in love first of all with a woman, then with her family, then with her city, and then with the culture of Polishness. And I remember as I then came to Poland very regularly up until the time I moved full-time, like forever basically, in 2010, I'd always look at the dowody, the dowód osobiste that they were holding in their hands at the airport, and I just wanted one of those beasts, you know, and every single time I came to Poland, I could feel this is my place. So when I moved here in 2010, I never set myself a goal of I want to be a citizen, but I always knew it was something that I wanted to work towards, but I felt like I had to earn it. And sometime in like 2018-ish, more or less, I'd already met the president at like a 100-year anniversary event of the Polish Republic regaining its independence.
That would have been Duda, right?
Yeah, President Duda, and we talked for a few moments, and I explained that I'm British, but I live in Poland. I speak Polish, obviously in Polish, the whole conversation. And I was thinking about, you know, becoming a Polish citizen. He said, you should do it. I'll definitely grant you citizenship. And that was the idea that formed, because there's 2 routes. You can kind of apply based on you've been living here, you speak Polish, you haven't...
Were you eligible at that point?
Yeah, I was eligible at that point.
Or you wanted it the hard way?
I wanted that hard way, the slightly more unpredictable way.
It.
The granting way, which is... And so like with the wink and a nod from the president himself, got the application together. And you've even got some letters in front of you. Maybe you're going to mention them from some people who wrote on my behalf.
So I've got some letters in front of me. So these are just 2 of many. We've only got a couple. Tell me what these are, and maybe read little bits. Tell us who wrote these.
Dude, when I haven't read these letters in 8 or 7 years since I got them. So I had 51 letters of support from people from the US and from the UK, from Poland. Na mój temat, yeah, on the subject of the application, kind of supporting the application. So you do have an application that does go through, but there's much less chance of succeeding because it's granted. So the president actually has to sign the ustawa, the kind of like decree for you to be a citizen. So it does sound cool, let's be honest. It's like a much better route to do it that way than like some urzędnik, some kind of like council guy looking at it. Okay, I'm going to read them. I don't know how easy it will be for me. So this is from Pani Ewa. Mam ogromny szacunek dla... Chcesz, żebym przetłumaczył?
No, just go for the Polish.
Mam ogromny szacunek dla Patryka Neya, pana Neya, nie tylko dlatego, że jest doskonałym ambasadorem Polski, nie tylko dlatego, że się tak dużo nauczył języka polskiego w dosyć szybkim czasie, jak również, że tak wiele zdarzył się nauczyć o polskiej tradycji, historii i kulturze. Mój szacunek jest tym głębszy, że mam osobisty wgląd w tę jego decyzję. Lata temu w podobnej sytuacji nie zdecydowałem się wjechać do Anglii, a w końcu wylądowałem w Kanadzie, czemu się jeszcze po 32 latach dziwię. Wiem, że to nie jest łatwe. That's very nice letter there. Oh, this is quite a long one, so...
just read some bits that I maybe...
highlighted, yeah. So this is from Pan Jakub. Swoją prośbą motywuje przekonaniem, iż Patryk Ney wykazuje postawę rodowitego obywatela polskiego. Jego znajomość polskiej historii oraz kultury, która jest oczywista po tak długim czasie przebywania w Polsce, widoczny patriotyzm oraz miłość do ojczyzny są cechami, które ciężko szukać u niektórych rodowitych Polaków. Jestem pewien, że Patryk Ney jest świadomy obowiązków, jakie wiążą się z nadaniem obywatelstwa polskiego, oraz poświadczam, że poradziłby on sobie bez najmniejszego problemu. Dowodem jest jego dotychczasowa działalność na rzecz propagowania naszego kraju na całym świecie, dostępne w postaci licznych materiałów filmowych oraz wywiadów w mediach społecznościowych.
Wow, man. That brings up some emotions.
Yeah,
what do you feel when you read that?
Just like so much deep, all the moments that brought me here, you know, like all the good and the bad together, the love that I have for this country and its people, more than anything, it's people, you know.
People.
So many times Polish people have just wowed me, just like jaw-droppingly wowed me with their generosity, with their spirit, with their determination. And, you know, obviously I had a Facebook page, I had, you know, like 100,000 followers and stuff, but the letters that I got from them showed me that what I had been doing wasn't just a waste of time. Because, you know, like the stuff we do, it's a film, but it's not real. You don't hold it in your hands. Mm-hmm. But when I held those letters in my hands that went in as part of that application and went directly to the president as well, I felt the same I felt now, which is just very, very grateful. You know, like to have lived a meaningful life and to have done something of meaning is quite rare.
Yeah, it is. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that with us. I especially like... Są cechami, których ciężko szukać u niektórych rodowitych Polaków. It's like, Mr. President, this guy's more Polish than many real born and bred Polish people I know. So that's.
So what I would say is this: like one of the things you said, like what are my top 3 interests in? One of them is Poland as a metaphor for the human condition. I think like Poland is a state of mind as much as a geographical place. And I think the journey of Poland from basically something that didn't exist to just an idea in people's minds through to a physical thing, 1918, starts to really develop, not without its problems, but, you know, born again and then crushed under the jackboot of communism and Nazism. It's such a perfect metaphor for the roller coaster experience of being a human being, you know, like one time you win, one time you lose. And Poland to me has always been more than just a geographical place and more than just a collection of people. It's an idea about the state of humanity. So the Chrystus Narodów idea, like the Christ of nations, you don't hear it outside of Poland, but from time to time you hear it in Poland. You know, what is Christ but the metaphor of humanity, you know, the beacon of humanity, the son of man. And therefore there are ways that I like to think about Poland more as an idea than as a physical place. And I believe that the world can learn from Poland in the same way that, you know, the world follows the US. I think Poland stands for things and can stand for more and will stand for more. as an inspiration.
Future tense.
Well, future tense, only future tense here. And I just love that idea because it's like an idea I like playing around with, you know, in my mind. And Poland does inspire me, you know, like dude, I could have chosen to be anywhere really. You know, I was 27 when I left the UK, could have lived anywhere in Europe, had friends and, you know, relations in different parts of Europe. Something about this country just pulled me in, and I'm not the only person I know that said that.
Magnetic. I like the metaphor for Poland as a metaphor for the human condition. Where are we now in that story of ups and downs and the humans? Where is Poland now?
It's a great question. I've thought about it as well. I think we're like mid-30s now, where we've sorted out some of our childhood traumas and we're actually making a fair bit of money, and we can almost hardly not believe that it's gone so well. So we're kind of like, ooh, but you know, and we're not saving very much money because Poles don't like saving money, and actually a beautiful future is ahead of us as long as we make the right moves. Obviously the alternative is possible. It can still all fall apart, you know, like the line between sanity and madness is pretty tight, at least in my case. And you know, like there is a version of our future where things go horribly wrong for us, and then there's a version of our future where it's literally like this Złoty Okres, this golden age for Poland, just carries on going, you know. And so yeah, like you're a 30-year-old, you still got a lot of your life ahead of you, but you've kind of got through a lot of your childhood, you know, crazy 20s. you're past that.
That's cool. I like that. So what actually, in your view, what makes someone Polish? Because there's this thing about Poland where anyone can become Polish, and Poles say that all the time. It's like anyone can be Polish. Doesn't matter what nation, what skin color. Like, if you want it and if you embody what it means, you can be a Pole. But to you, what do you think it means to be Polish?
I mean, first of all, the concept, I broadly agree with the concept. I mean, I believe I became a Pole. So if it's possible for me, it's possible for anyone from this great human race. You know, and you only have to look back to the Druga Rzeczpospolita, the Second Polish Republic. It's like the most multicultural, ethnically diverse country in the whole of Europe. Whether that experiment would have succeeded beyond World War II and what would have happened, we'll never know. So in a sense, we're coming back to that experiment of how do you have multiple cultures and ethnicities operating under one brand. I think the one word which I always come back to is wolność. So what I like about Poland, what I appreciate it, is that it has a somewhat Anglo-Saxon Western mindset around just like, leave me the hell alone, don't tread on my turf, let me get on with my thing, whatever it is, and I'll let you do your thing as well. Poles are actually incredibly tolerant, and I believe they understand the price of freedom in a way that, coming from the UK, most British people, like, we've been free forever. You know, like, I know we had the Blitz in 1940 or 41, but that was nothing compared to what Warsaw alone suffered, you know, never mind the rest of the country. So we paid a heavy price for that freedom in this country, and in living memory, the memory of our parents and grandparents, like, they had to fight, or even just fight to survive in the ongoing fight for freedom. Totally. So I do try and like boil it down. I try and boil it down to just a few words. Then it would be freedom, sovereignty within that, both individual and national, as a family of families, history, intimately intertwined with all of this, therefore tradition. Poles haven't forgotten the roots, the Catholic roots, the traditions which have kept them going. 1st of November, Jens Marwick, all of those kind of things. When I came here, I'm like, oh my God, people actually celebrate the old traditions. That's so cool. UK, like,
All Saints Day is epic.
Dude, no one does Guy Fawkes Night in the UK because it's just about Halloween. I miss Guy Fawkes Night. No one watching this who's interested in Poland would know what it is, but it was like, that was the thing when I was a kid, and it's all just swept away. So commercialization, all the rest of it aside. Family. I do believe that Poland's a very family-centric culture, whereas, again, comparing it to the UK, it's quite an individualistic, postmodern, post-capitalism even society. Family plays a much more important role here. So freedom, sovereignty, tradition, honor. I'm in love with the romantic idea of the Polish officer with his sword out, charging, you know, whatever enemy, who cares who they are, you know, just because what the hell. That sense of honor, and I know it's a romantic vision of this country, but dude, I totally signed up to that vision, you know. Yeah, what did I say? Freedom, tradition, honor, family.
I guess this goes without saying, but language.
Yeah, within that. We talked before we went on air, we talked about this several times. I think yes, I would say I don't think you can become Polish unless you have at least a working understanding of the Polish language. And that's, you know, for very obvious reasons, you need a B1 level in Polish. You ain't got B1. How the hell are you going to be able to even put your application in?
If you're not B1, you can't be
B1, yes. How about you B2? You know, double the best, or even go up to C. I see you one. I see one. I don't know where the hell I am on that ranking anymore because I'm like such a mishmash of different levels of Polish. But you know, we talked about this. How many times you can go to some random, totally out of the woods. I spoke to two geezers basically drinking beers. I went for a run and we ended up having a half-an-hour chat in Przemysłowiec, just like in the middle of nowhere. And they blathered on. And the best part was, Daniel, they didn't even ask me where I was from. You know, obviously I have an accent when I speak in Polish, but it was totally uninteresting to them because as far as they were concerned, they were talking to a Pole.
Yeah.
And that's a magic moment, man. And you don't get there, unfortunately, if you don't speak the language. However, full disclaimer, if you live here and you're contributing, you're worthwhile. It's not that we denigrate that at all, but to go deeper and to become a true Pole, you must learn the language.
Bingo, bingo. You mentioned family. You've got a family yourself, 2 daughters, wife, 2 daughters. I want you to talk about them for a minute. Tell us a little bit about each person in that family. Tell us a bit about your wife, what she's like, and each of your daughters.
So this is kind of, I don't get asked this question very much and I don't normally talk about them. So my wife Maya is, she's like the complete opposite of me in every single respect. we share a good sense of humor, but like she's like the definition of long-suffering wife, but she completes me in so many different ways. And I've seen her at times of crisis on my side where she's been my rock, you know. So the word I have there is my rock. I could not function and do what I do without like the silent courage and strength of my wife, you know. And I put her through hell for sure. There's more coming, but there's something about the way that we work together as a team, which I really, really appreciate. And I definitely see all the things she brings to the partnership that I don't have, you know, and can't have.
That's major.
It really is, you know, and it's taken me a long time to get there to realize that the other person's not supposed to be the copy of you.
No.
That's the worst thing.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's just only going to like exacerbate and amplify.
Not good to have 2 people doing the same stuff, and vice versa, you know. So it works both ways.
Like, imagine my wife was like also
a content creator,
and we were just like filming everything.
Oh God,
constantly.
You'd be that couple at the, you know, like a venue, an event, and they're both filming each other. Yeah, it's like, oh, exactly. We need to put your phones down for a second.
Obviously, she takes part in my videos, but she's like, she doesn't have her own like public IG or anything.
Yeah,
like that, so. It's so true.
You're not tagging her in the stuff, but you never know.
That is good relationship advice. Kind of find someone who is different. And then you'll...
And celebrate the difference as well. So rather than seeing that other person's like, why aren't they like this? Which I've done, by the way. I'm like, why is she like this? Why isn't she like that? It's like, no, see how that opposite side benefits you.
They have something to teach you.
Yeah,
basically.
and you have as much to learn from them as they do from you as well.
Exactly.
So with the girls, both of them have like different elements of my character, and I don't like it when people are like, oh, she has this from me and that from me, you know. But like, you know, speaking broadly, Zosha, I think my eldest has the kind of like fire, you know, like this slightly crazy vibe about her. She's got like this real energy inside her, and I see it as a line through my family, through my parents and my parents' parents, and I can kind of see that fire inside her. And she has a love for reading and stories and slightly eccentric. On the other hand, Mia, my youngest, she's like the wackiest child of all time. I think sometimes I'm a bit concerned that she might be slightly crazy because there's periods where she just won't stop talking, which, you know, probably comes from dad. And she has this like super elfin, her name means star of the sea, among other things, and she has sea blue eyes, you know. So Zofia is the love of wisdom, or the goddess of wisdom, and Mia is the star in the sea. So
that's where philosophy.
Yeah. So delighting in the growing of their presence and understanding that they don't belong to me. I'm just there to kind of like share part of the ride with them. It is a great joy, and I love spending time with both of them. Never really happier than when I'm there. Unless I have a visitor in the house, then it's even better.
I know that feeling. I know that, so I can relate to, yes. Just it's the best thing to be spending time with them. Precious moments.
Yeah.
To just tie a bow on that question, I actually have a question here from your daughter, Zofia. You ready?
I'm a little bit nervous because she told me she'd asked you to ask a question.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's do this.
Question from Patrick's daughter. Are you a poo-poo head?
Zofia, for you, if you want me to be a poo-poo head, the answer is yes. Yes, I am. I'm a fraud and a failure and useless, and best you discover this right now. Like, it'll come in your teenage years anyway. So thank you for that question.
There we go. That's perfect. Czym jest Polska? It's a poem you wrote and published back in the day on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Czym jest Polska? Quoting a bit of it. Tradycja, historia, jedność, szacunek dla starszych, gościnność, kombinowanie, narzekanie, załatwianie, przepychanie, meldowanie, pieczenie. How did that poem come about?
The freakiest thing actually really is one of the
It's so
few...
good, by the way. It's like...
I'm never quite sure if it's good or people just...
No, it's perfectly simple.
It was 11th of November 2016, and I've always been a writer and a creator of all kinds, poet, journalist, writing, creating the whole time. And I sat down to write a blog post. A blog was this thing, Daniel, where people would write their thoughts rather than record them in a video. Poor guy, I've been doing this the last 24 hours. And I wanted to write something about the 11th of November. So I'd been going to the 11th of November marches basically since I came to Poland. Even before I kind of really spoke Polish, I'd be there with the Kibolin, the Kibice, Legia, Manifestacja.
Damn.
Oh, dude, back in the day, you know, smoking cigarettes so they didn't see that I couldn't sing their songs because I hadn't learnt them yet. You know,
wow,
super
that's-
undercover.
That is a good technique.
It is. But then you chain smoke because there's song after song. So I went to all the 11th of November marches, and I was fascinated by this dichotomy in the Polish. You'd have the Komorowski marches, which were kind of, you know, like super chilled out, and then you'd have the Dzienni Podległości marches, which are full of absolute maniacs and families and stuff like that, and like loads of alcohol, podpalenie tęcza, so like the burning of the rainbow in Warsaw. Like the tęcza, the rainbow thingy bob in Plac Unii Lubelskiej, not Unii Lubelskiej. I forgot it. It was Bavicella, sorry. And so I'd been to all of those, and I wanted to sit down and kind of talk about independence. And that poem just came out of my hands, literally, pa 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 pa. And it was in a way a summary of all of my different feelings and thoughts and my impressions of Poland up until that point.
It is so good. It's
Recorded it as a video, and then pow, you know, like 1 million views, which back in 2016 was wild, you know. And
yeah. Whoa.
it was a big thing at the time, man, and people started recognizing me and stuff, and they said, you've like Samoset Polski is like, you know, like really distilled the essence of Poland. And I do feel, you know, Jesus said, no man is I think it was Matthew, I can't remember the number, but no man is a prophet in his own country, you know, and it felt like, wow, Polska oczami obcokrajowcy, you know, there's something about seeing this country from the outside which helps Poles to understand it as well.
so true. So true. I've even realized that myself. Can you give me like classic examples of, for example, polskie narzekanie? What do we complain about?
Oh, I mean, there was actually, I believe, I can't remember, it was 1960s. They tried to do an Olympics in complaining, and Poles won gold, silver, and bronze year after year. And eventually they're like, no, there's just no point doing this anymore. You name it, a Pole will complain about it. Never ask a Babcia, for example, jak pani się ma, how are you? Or even a Pan, for that example, for a Dziadek, because then 30 minutes later you're still hearing about their knees and their elbows and all the rest of it, and refundowanie leków and all the rest of it. I love our Babcias and Dziadeks, but it's true, you know, you have to be careful. Doing down their own country, Poles are past masters at destroying their own national reputation. You know, like there's this curious combination where they're both incredibly proud to the point where they'd be willing to die in a trench fighting, you know, hand-on-hand combat to defend their country, and then incredibly derogatory about Poland at the same time, which you even heard in one of the letters, right? The letter was like, you know, like, oh, if only other people were like this as well. So that's curious. I don't want to over-exaggerate. Brits like complaining as well. I think it's like...
and that's a massive parallel between our societies.
Yeah.
I've totally noticed that. We both love complaining, this kind of self-deprecating humor. And
yeah, but here it's like we're not good enough. Whereas in the UK, you can afford to joke about your country, you know. So I think there's there's a lot of położenie, there's a lot of like basis in some of this around this like fragile, damaged view we have of ourselves. Being Poles.
I was in a taxi ride yesterday, going to the train station to come here, and my taxi driver, you're just complaining the whole time about the country, about the way we build blocks of flats before we even build the roads. It's like the buildings come before the roads. He was complaining about the driving culture, about the prices of things.
Yeah, price is crazy.
He's like, I need to get out of here. It's
he's not wrong though, right?
It's totally true. He's not. Załatwianie, what's all that about?
So
any good examples
that's
of that?
one. So załatwienie, kombinowanie, you know, those kind of things. Like that whole like Polish mentality of I'm going to finagle. There's no English verb, Daniel.
That was good.
Yeah?
Finangol.
Finangol. But the problem is kombinowanie szersze jako
I
słowo.
know.
Yeah?
There really is no.
There really is no, because you would know,
perfect
yeah, if there was.
translation.
You would have worked that out with your gigantic brain and your specialization. So there is no word to encapsulate this kind of Polish mentality of let's bend the rules a little bit to get what we need done, and both the bender and the bendee will both kind of accept that at the same time. And it does come from that long history of subterfuge and conspiracy and oppression and, of course, communism as well.
And the fact that in English we don't really have that word, I think, is a reflection that we are lacking a little bit of that in England. A bit of that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a high trust society, isn't it? It's why you call everyone mate, because you can afford to. No one's doing that in Poland. You know, if someone said "Cześć kolego," you'd be like, "What the hell do you want?" You know?
It's true. Przepychanie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, Poles are just dreadful queuers and dreadful etiquette, and pushing in front both in the queue but also on the roads as well is like a national obligation, you know.
Another story from yesterday's travel over here, the train was like double booked or something, and so it was just full of people, like clogged up, like no one could even move. Like, I'm not kidding. Inside the carriages, people were standing in the carriages along the walkway,
like the olden days.
And then people were like, "Move forward! What are you doing?" And there was lots of przepychanie.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So, but that was it. Which is, you know, back in the when I first came to Poland, the train from Wrocław to Warsaw was like that every time, and you'd end up scrunched up in the corridor, you know, and then people would stand over you and stuff like that. So you had to push in front of your fellow citizen to get the washing machine, the maluch. And it is ingrained in the culture here, you know. But part of me kind of loves it, because I love bending the rules. You know, who doesn't like bending the rules? But of course, it does end up with like multiple car crashes and deaths every single day, because the odds temper, the distance between the cars is ridiculous, and it's connected to that.
Let's look at the future now a little bit of Poland. Obviously, our country has developed rapidly and is still developing rapidly, technologically, economically. We've gone through an economic miracle. However, I've observed, I'm sure you have too, that with technological advancement and economic advancement, family and community, those values, that communal thread, it seems to suffer a little bit, and you start to lose some of those values. How can we conserve community, family, those values in Poland moving forward and still advancing at the pace we are? How do we protect that?
Dude, it's such a great question.
It's the most important thing, I think.
I agree. And for example, it's like trite and common to say that we need to have a conversation. What does a conversation even mean? I mean, partly it's the engagement and interaction between various civil groups and the structure of society, in which there's both a top-down and bottom-up flow and transmission of information, right? So our politicians need to be breaching these subjects. There needs to be at that level. Our media organizations need to be taking this into account as well. I say need. They can. It's their choice, obviously. And we as people should be engaging with the media, you know, organizations, and having that same discussion ourselves. What does it mean to be a Pole? Can you become a Pole? If you can become a Pole, what does that actually mean on a day-to-day basis? And I beg Polish people, I would go down on my knees and pull at their trouser legs to say, like, please don't think that everything from the West is good. Please don't think that microwavable meals and a godless society and the individual pursuit of happiness over the expense of your family and time together and, you know, everything that comes with it is better than what you have. You have something special. And yeah, of course, I agree. We shouldn't want to lose it. Yeah. So of course, it comes up to young people, such as yourself, Daniel, and you know, people like me approaching middle age, very much in the middle of middle age. It therefore behooves us and beholds us to keep that going and to przekazać and to pass on our traditions onto our children as well. It's extremely important for me, for example, to take my children to Powązki Cemetery, military cemetery, on the occasion of the 1st of August 1944, so the Warsaw Uprising, and we stand in front of the graves of my children's families, and I say to them, like, you know, like, teach this to your children, pass it on. because everything that those people held dear and were prepared truly to give their lives up for, not as like a cliche, but really the people that fought in Warsaw Uprising were fighting for the ideals of sovereignty, of independence, for a free Poland, nothing else. And they were prepared to die for it, and they did in their thousands, civilians along with them as well.
Man, it hits different to hear this, to have this conversation in Warsaw.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in Kraków day to day.
Yeah,
so.
man, you feel it in the streets. You are walking on the graves of people who died for this country and the idea of Poland when you come around Warsaw. And when I say to them, like, teach this to your children and your children's children, man, I don't think we're losing anything, but it really is important for us to just keep it going, you know, and not to just get rid of all of the old traditions.
So important.
And keep them going, and to understand that we have a chance here to be everything that's good about capitalism in the West, but with that traditional Polish attitude. And that's when we become a powerhouse, because the West is desperate for Poland to lead, you know. I know this, it's not just social media. People look at Poland now and it's not just about the army. It's not just about based Poland pushing back the immigrants. Poland has a moral clarity around what's important and what's important to focus on as a nation, with its examples, Lech Wałęsa, Pope John Paul II. It has a moral clarity that the West is not desperate for, actually. It doesn't even know how important it is to look for it. And that's what I think this crisis of identity is in the West, is like, guys, if you looked at Poland would be the template for how you could live your life, without wanting to push Catholicism on anyone or anything like that, but just the ideas that come with this, like this Catholic, united, in other words, the true meaning of the word Catholic, version of Poland has a lot to offer the West in return.
You said the outsider has much to offer Poland and Polish people in terms of, you know, giving them a fresh look and kind of really showing them a mirror of the country so they can see it better. I think me spending so much of my time in the UK, I grew up there. I saw what the modern West model has to offer, and that's why I think I jumped into having a family and like a wife and children so fast, because what you just said, not everything the West is doing is like, we don't have to follow all of that. And I was like, no, I'm literally rejecting this. Let's go traditional, because this is clearly the way.
Dude, you've won the lottery of life. You get 20 extra years with your son and with
Why
your future
20 extra years?
Well, because, you know, if your average male has your child around, I think it's like 38, 39 now. Let's say it's 40, you know, like that means that they live 20 less years with their children.
Wow.
And those are the best years of your life. The years you have with your kids as you watch them grow, full of drama and despair and all the rest of it, but they are literally so meaningful. I can't change anything, but if I could, I would definitely have had kids more or less the same age as you.
Wow.
And I don't, it's not jealousy, but I'm like, good job, dude. Like, seriously, you won the lottery of life.
And it's, you know, not many people my age are having kids. And yeah, I spend time with them. I look around, and it's not like they're happy with that decision or fulfilled. And I can see it. And they kind of look up to me like, wow, you really got this figured out.
Did everyone at the start go like, oh, you're crazy, you're not going to be able to go out and have a good time? Or were they broadly supportive?
Yeah, voices like that. I heard voices like that. But I keep a tight circle, so it's not like I heard many voices. But I do see that people my age, couples, men, females, they long for it. They are longing for this. They do want it. They do want a family too. And I've got a statistic here. In 2023, Poland recorded EU's largest population decline. Obviously, I think that's due to a lot of people dying and not many people being born. So how real is the birth rate crisis? Should Polish people be having more kids? Why aren't they? What can we do to push them a bit more?
I mean,
I think you guys should.
I've done 2.0, man. I can't do more than 2 unless my wife's watching this and we come to some kind of agreement. Again, it's also about that kind of conversation around, is it because societal norms do define behavior. So when you have an understanding that you should focus on your career and work first and then have kids, people respond accordingly. So that's where this whole idea of actually having a conversation is very interesting. COVID, for example, like we had a conversation, it's wise to wear a mask. And now most people, you know, with a healthy, robust immune system, of like, I'm never going to wear that again. So things shift over time. Once upon a time, wearing a seatbelt was kind of a little bit sad and you didn't want to do it. And, you know, slowly but surely we've come to the point where, of course, you put a seatbelt on. So there is the world and the conversation and the journey we're having inside our own mind. And then there's a mind of minds, our hive mind, which is our generally agreed understanding of how the world should be. And it does feel like perhaps the pendulum is starting to swing towards, hey, ladies, actually, you don't want to end up at 40 years old on your own, having had maybe one long relationship, wanting desperately to have children, you know, realizing how important that was to you, having put it off for so many years, now biologically or relationship-wise unable to do so. And of course, I know people who can't conceive, and there's another big issue in all of this, which is the medical things behind why more and more people are finding it hard to conceive. It's not just men having your phone
fertility
like
thing, yeah.
5 inches away from
5 inches, man. 5 centimeters.
Talk about the baby making parts, or the production of the spermatozoa, if you must know, Daniel, or women, you know, with hormones as well. So let's just go back to the point I was making. It's not just about that. It's also about this idea that you can wait and it won't be a big deal. And of course costs and all the rest of it, but there's never a good time to have children. So you may as well get it done when you've got the energy to have them. And I don't think you ever regret having a kid either. But look, no. You know, I was 32, I think, when I had my first child, 33 maybe. So yeah, like 32, something like that. Yeah, 33. So I also waited. And the simple answer is, I honestly thought that maybe, you know, maybe me and my wife wouldn't be together forever, and, you know, is this the right person? And I was hesitant. And if I'd known that you feel that
people hesitate,
you feel that way about anyone that you're going to meet.
Absolutely,
because there's always someone better.
I realized that, and I was like, let's do it anyway.
Just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, this person doesn't tick every single one of your boxes, but that's fine. No one ever will. And besides, when you find that, you'll create some new boxes they don't tick just to have that victimizer like mentality, right? Sure. The other person's not doing X or Y. You'll create that reality for you because that's the human condition. So again, coming back to this idea of not everything that was back in the day old school traditional is necessarily wrong. Actually, I think is probably a net benefit for everyone if we have kids early. I mean, the fertility for women, for example, peaks at 20-ish and then just slowly declines over time. Crazy. So we've kind of created the conditions for this crisis to happen. Yeah. I do, however, feel that we don't have enough people thing is kind of like the climate change, like global warming beating stick of our generation at this time, because you just hear it trotted out. Someone wrote to me on Facebook the other day, Poland had like 25 million people at the end of World War II. So, you know, they got along. The second thing is our pensions, which apparently, you know, the crisis with pensions. How about we stop pretending that someone's utility finishes at 65? I personally believe that people should work until the day they die. And a human being without work is a human being without meaning. Not to mention, of course, that we're living much longer lives. So this idea that we can finish at 65 and then go on for another 25 years, you know, the primary reason why this is such a big issue is someone has to pay our pensions. Yep. Do we have to change the pension system? Yep. And of course, robotics, AI.
Man.
Dude, who knows what's going to happen in 10 to 15 years' time?
I do really think it's going to change everything so drastically that we're talking about all these things through the old paradigm and old lens of, you know, population growth is equal to economic growth, more people, more output. It's going to change everything. I really do think that.
Apart from anything else, we have Polonia. We have the incredible diaspora of Polish people and their descendants. And I think Poland should be doing a much better job at getting these super educated, very patriotic, Polish-loving people to come back to this country. Because frankly speaking, if you're Polish or Polish descendant and you live in America or the US, come to Poland, man. This is where it's at.
It is where it's at. I'll tell you right now, this is where it's at. I've got a couple more questions for you as we slowly wrap up. Why do you train so bloody hard?
So can I say, Daniel, yes. I feel like you're a little lower tempo than the last time we spoke with each other. I feel like I might have beasted you a little bit too much.
So we went to the gym this morning. Paddy gave me one of his workouts. Only half an hour. It was
28 minutes, right?
Intense. It's just intense. One of those workouts where you're like, when will this stop? I don't want to continue anymore.
You took it like a man, though, because you didn't say anything. I was also suffering as well, just to be clear, man. So this morning was quite intense, even for me. Why do I not do show pony exercises with one muscle isolated group? So like that's cool, but I love my body for what it can do, you know. And I've done various like army things and assault courses and CQB, like close quarter combat style training, and you have to crawl, you have to drag, you have to pull. Thinking about going into the Polish army, and a lot of that stuff is just there's a box, now drag it backwards 100 yards, you know, and that's all of your muscles of your body. So I've been in love with functional strength, using your body really the really human way. And I was lucky enough to get a trainer who like really focused me on that. So I did a lot of CrossFit, a lot of, you know, like, some crazy stuff, flipping 110 kilogram tie, you know, then you know, pulling a rope for 90 seconds, burning forearms and stuff like that. My favorite personal one is I get into like a crawling position and then I have to drag and pull a 20 kilogram sandbag on the ground, because that's exactly what it's like when you pull your rucksack and your rifle along the ground when you're keeping low cover. So yeah, train hard.
So you're ready for
fight
war,
easy.
basically.
I definitely would be readier than most people on average. I'm 42 though, you know, so I'm kind of like an old man for that kind of stuff. But I love throwing my kids in the air. You know, my oldest daughter's like almost 50 kilograms, and we still play hard, bro. You know, like still throwing and stuff like that. And I want to be the granddad who can do that to his grandchildren. There's not many grandparents who can do
That's
that.
awesome. That's
Dude, my
epic.
dad's 74. He's still running.
That's
you know?
epic.
He's such a legend.
I think my parents will be like that too. They're still, obviously they're only 50, but they're super into like their little half marathons. They love running,
Awesome.
hiking.
Mum
Yeah.
and dad.
Yes, mum and dad.
Epic.
They do it together. So
Awesome.
Yes, yes.
Very nice.
we watched Apocalypse Now yesterday in the cinema. That was my first time ever watching it. What an epic war movie. What are your top 3 war movies?
Oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that. You'll have to cut this in the edit because I need to think about it. Yeah, so Apocalypse Now would be
In
up
there?
there. Yeah, for sure.
Apocalypse
for sure.
Now.
I'll have to try and arrange them a little bit. Saving Private Ryan just bumped into my head, but I'm not going to say that. Hang on a second. I don't know why, but I'm thinking about Apocalypto now, which isn't the World War II film, but I bloody love Apocalypto.
Apocalypto?
Yeah, so I think I put that in there because it's kind of about war. Let me just have a little think. I mean, we did talk about Commando yesterday. Can I put Commando in there? It's a little bit unfair. I mean, I loved all of the World War II classics like Longest Day, Battle of Britain, Bridge Too Far. Zulu. Let's put Zulu in there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Zulu, Apocalypto, and Apocalypse Now. Now, if Poland was to have a war, if you were to engage in that war, things happened, time moves on. Let's just say they want to record a film and they need someone to play Patrick May. Who would you
bumbling
want,
middle-aged. I need a bumbling middle-aged British male.
Who would you want to play you if there was a war movie?
I need
Who plays Patrick?
Yeah,
May?
so I need a bumbling middle-aged British male. There's that guy from is it Andrew Mitchell from Peep Show, sort of little chubby guy with a little nasal voice. I think he could potentially do Patrick Ney. Obviously, the Patrick Ney that I see in my imagination versus the reality is somewhat different. So let it be him.
Awesome.
I did once get compared to the guy from Cats Vegas. What was Cats Vegas in English? It was The Hangover. And I walked away. This guy at this food thing, he's like, "You look like that guy from The Hangover."
Which one? The
first one, right? And I walked away. I'm like,
as in which character?
Well, I'm like, he thinks I'm Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, or the one with the?
I'm like, this is epic. And then I sat down for a second and thought, I've got this really long, scraggly beard. He means the fat one. It was literally from hero to zero instantly. So I did think he thinks
like
I'm Bradley
Bradley
Cooper.
Cooper.
And then I sat down and he went, no, he means the fat one. Damn.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. The final question now. We are a bit short on time, ladies and gentlemen. War is a real thing. You know, there's a possibility of war always. What steps can the average people take in Poland to be ready if the worst were to come?
Number one, you should have at least 2 weeks food and at least 2 weeks water supply ready, available. Number two, you should think about having some stocks inside and definitely printing off all of the government advice. There's loads of leaflets and pamphlets out there. There is no need to live your life in an afraid way, but a prepared mind definitely puts you at ease. If you're a man and you're physically able to, and you have the capacity, then I invite you to train hard, to learn how to handle a rifle, to be interested in drone warfare, to keep up with the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, see how it's going. I invite you to come into the Wojska Obrony Terytorialna, for example, as I'm planning to do next year. I don't want to force anyone to do it, but why not? You learn a whole bunch of different skills, and you'll gain something in the teamwork that you probably don't have in your job as well. It's amazing doing things as a team where you come together and you trust each other and you realize what you're actually capable of. There's always more for you to give your society, your country, and your family as well. So in all of this, actually, it's about your own personal development and about keeping your family safe. If you're a woman, you can do exactly the same. It's not about men. Women have played a huge and important role in Polish history and the conspiracy for years as well. And yeah, you should probably have an understanding of what everyone's going to do if the S does hit the fan and the Linia Obronna is by the Wisła, which has happened in Polish history more than once.
Exactly.
Will it happen again? Of course it will happen again. We're living in history right now. So let's stop pretending that it's 1999, it's the end of history and everyone can live happily ever after. That is not the story of Poland. It's not the story of this world. We have freedom, but freedom isn't free, and we may well need to fight for it. And I intend to fight for it if the day comes.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
It was a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.